been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony back with another episode of the One Hell of a Life Outdoor Podcast, and it is one hell of a life.
What's up, man? I'll tell you what, it is one hell of a life because, like, lately, you know, I feel like I've been like military status as far as my day job goes, and you know, and for us, I do disaster restoration. You know, it's show season. So you're out there shaking hands with people, traveling across the country. I think I've done 5 shows so far this year, and most of them are over like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So today feels like Thursday, but it's Tuesday. And but just got back from BOMA International. Big show. Great people, man. Had a great time. Met a lot of people. And it's funny that, you know, when you go into a place like that and you just start having great conversations with people, you're networking, you know, what do you do for fun? And, you know, who you marry, how long you been married, and you start talking about this personality things. And isn't it funny, like how much, and Tristan, we didn't even talk to even discuss this today, but isn't it funny how, like, it's finding that common ground, right? Like,
oh yeah,
I remember a long time ago, you went into a place for a sales pitch, you know, for a previous company, and you went in there and you were like, man, this guy had bass and bucks and everything on the wall. And as soon as you see that, you're like, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
So, but no, I've been traveling a lot, you know, and you know, with that said, you know, I mean, we don't wish any kind of problems on people, you know, but when it comes to what I do, you know, we make a lot of money on, you know, restoration after a major weather event, you know, whether it be flood, fire, tornado, that kind of thing. But the thing I love about it the most, honestly, is it's like a call of duty from, like, when I was in the military, you know, it's like, it feels like humanitarian to me, is that I get to go be like, if I don't go do what I do as quickly as I can right after that major weather event, I'm keeping business from happening. I'm keeping people from getting paid on their jobs, you know.
Yeah, I mean, at least what you're selling, you can look back on and be like, I mean,
I made a difference.
Granted, it is still sales, and somebody's got to pay some money to get that stuff in there, but it's going to directly get businesses rolling again, so you can feel good about what you're selling.
Yeah. And not only that, you know, but there's people that work wherever it is. Mm-hmm. So I know we do all commercial, but, you know, we do big retailers and stuff. And I've known, like, we've got some special retailers, I can't mention their names, that, you know, man, they go as far as like getting temporary restrooms and all these different type of humanitarian things to set up for their employees. And I don't know, man, when I'm a part of something like that, I'm just like, shoot me tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I just, it really feels like a great sense of purpose.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and for people listening to this, you know, a wide array of different jobs, I'm sure, you know, different people that listen to this, but for y'all in sales, you know, I'd just be curious to hear, because I'm in sales too. I kind of feel the same way. It's like, you want to sell something that you can believe in and feel like it's making a difference in, you know. I mean, that's just how, you know, I feel, probably because that's the way, you know, working with you for all that time kind of was instilled in me, I guess.
You want to make that company your blood brother. Excuse me, I burped. That you want to make, they want to be your blood. You want them to be your blood brother, right? So, like, hey, let's cut a slit in our hands. Let's shake hands. I believe in what I'm doing. And that is such a big part of sales. It's just the conviction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being confident that what you're selling, no doubt. Yes, I mean, outside of that, it's just hot as hell here in the South, humid, hot. And one thing I figured out recently is I don't want to be a dedicated, like, lawn guy. You and I were talking about this the other day. So,
yeah.
So we moved in this house like 3.5 years ago. And, you know, I thought the yard, it was green, but it was like all weeds for the most part. Like, I'd say like legit like 75% weeds. And, you know, the first couple years kind of just whatever, didn't really put any effort into it, was putting effort into other things. And because obviously it's expensive too. Our front yard alone, we're on a 1/2 acre, and our front yard is probably most of it, probably 60% of it. And I want to say it's something like 7,000 square feet. So it's a pretty big yard, you know, and not cheap to resod or put seed out, anything like that. So I tried my best, just kind of half-assing it for a couple years or whatever, not really getting any results. Well, this year, since dating back to, I guess, last fall, I was like, okay, I'm putting like the groundwork in to where like 2-3 year plan, like I want this to look really good. Well, this spring or whatever, I think I may have planted a little bit last fall or whatever, and then this spring comes around, I plant a bunch of like Kentucky bluegrass. I'm wanting it to look that kind of look, and I hired a company to like spray for weeds and to fertilize and all that stuff. And I just hoped that like if I kept overseeding and yada yada yada, that it would kind of just fill out, weeds would go away. Well, basically when they sprayed for weeds, remember I mentioned how many weeds were in my yard?
Yeah.
So I have all these bare spots in my yard because it killed all the weeds. So now I'm left with grass and a bunch of bare spots, and it's the dead of summer, and I can't plant because you can't plant in the dead of summer because it's just going to burn up.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of screwed until the fall until I can like replant again. But all this to say, like I've analyzed this shit way too much,
son,
and I'm too frustrated.
son,
I don't want to be like a dedicated lawn guy.
It's as important as that steak that comes out of your Traeger. From a ego man's perspective,
Yes.
you have to have a good lawn.
Yeah, I'm trying.
If you're OCD son of a military guy,
I'm trying.
and but really, it's all about like when I remember the first time I had a lawn with cross cuts that looked beautiful, and I waited for the sun to be right to send Papa a picture, and he goes, "Yep, buddy, that looks pretty good." And I just remember I was like, "Dude, I worked so hard to get that thing right," you know, and but. Yeah, you had a jungle you were dealing with.
And it's like, I was just saying a second ago, you know, it's like 7,000 square feet. So it's not, you can't sod it. Like, who's got, I mean, I don't know, what would that be? $7,000 at least inside, $1 a square foot?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, nobody's got the money to do that. So it's like, just kind of got to just keep overseeding and hopefully like over 2 or 3 years.
It's a pride deal, dude.
Yeah.
You're just like, man, my lawn. It's a man and his lawn, right? I mean,
it's like so the thing that sucks right now is it's almost like I'm taking one step back to go 2 steps forward.
Yep.
Because last summer it was green and I mowed it and it looked good. It was green, but it was full of weeds.
Yeah.
So now it's just like grass and no weeds.
well, I'll tell you
dead
this.
spots.
My experience is just the opposite of yours because when I inherited this property, it looked pretty good, the front lawn. The back lawn can do whatever it wants. And I need basic care. But the front lawn, bro, you're dealing with the super impactful OCD Tony Vogel on that. And my guy, like,
I'm glad I'm not mowing your yard anymore.
dude, no, I mow it. I mow the back hill just so I can get good exercise. I sold my rider just so I can get the exercise. But my point is, as far as treatment goes, that is my showroom.
Yeah.
This is the front of my house, and that lawn, which isn't very, very big. I mean, I'd say on average, it's probably about 10 to 15 yards deep, and average, I don't know, 30, 40 yards wide, whatever. And I won't tolerate a weed. Not one. And I get the survey from our company. It says, "Will you rate so-and-so service?" I said, "No, I won't."
Oh, God.
I said, "Send this to me 2 weeks after they perform the service because, you get weed killer or whatever. It just doesn't die overnight." And they're like, "Rate so-and-so service." And I was like, "Rate him because he ran out of the truck real fast with a hose." I mean, what am I rating? You know what I mean? But no, I get it, man. I think it's just it's a thing. Like it's a manly purpose, especially, once you get married like you and you got this house and, you're trying to have this setting, this environment that you love and all this stuff like that. And then it becomes like a passion project, I think.
Man, it is, but it's just like, it's obviously there's levels to it. And I think that at some point I got to accept that I have such a big yard that it's like, I don't know.
Do not accept it.
We'll
Do not.
We'll see. But there's this dude that honestly is on my bucket list to get on this podcast. His name on TikTok, I don't even know his actual name, but his name's Southern Lawn Daddy. He's here in Georgia.
Yeah.
And he is like obsessed. He's a duck hunter, and a lot of his stuff is about like God and like Jesus and
That's
stuff like
awesome.
that too. But he is always posting stuff about his lawn. It's his wife videoing him and all that. But he like when I talk about levels to this, like this guy, like he has a great lawn, and people still like give him shit from time to time about
Yeah.
stuff with his lawn, and I'm just like, dude, you guys don't want to see my yard. But anyway, enough about that.
Right
But,
on, right on.
Hey, so new segment we're doing.
Yeah.
What the duck is going on?
What the duck's going on, Tristan?
What the duck is going on? So, basically, the whole purpose of this segment is that we're just gonna, once a week, chime in.
It could be what the buck is going on too.
Could be what the buck, whatever. But just kind of chime in on some things that are going on in the outdoor industry that. This summer, make memories on Florida's Forgotten Coast with Williamson Outfitters. From inshore and nearshore fishing to scalping and snorkeling in the bay, plus custom boat tours made for family fun, they've got something for everybody. And when the sun sets, it's time for a nighttime flounder gigging adventure you'll never forget. Small group or big group, day or night, Williamson Outfitters has a fleet of boats and a team of licensed captains ready to take you out. Call or text Captain Chris at 850-251-8650 or visit floridaducks.com. Williamson Outfitters, making the Forgotten Coast unforgettable. We're seeing and just kind of fill you guys in if you haven't seen it, and we're going to discuss our thoughts.
Yeah.
So first thing is the waterfowl stamps came out, and the junior one I love is a spoonie. Like we can't go wrong with that.
No.
But the I'm kind of interested to get the take. Is it a spectacled eider?
No, it's a king eider.
No, spectacled.
Are you sure?
I just don't know how to say it. Is it spectacled or spectacled?
I thought it's a king eider.
No, it's not.
Okay, then I'm wrong.
It is a spectacled eider.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
the one with the gray face, the orange beak.
Yep.
The bump on the nose, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is the federal duck stamp this
That's
year.
a beautiful bird.
And honestly, it's kind of majestic. Let me pull it up.
It
real
is,
quick.
dude.
Let me pull it up like Jamie on Joe Rogan real quick.
That's right. Hurry up, Jamie.
Yeah, 2025. Yeah, it's like these dude, it's just, I wish I could show you guys this. We're going to get video on here before too long.
Yeah.
But it's these two spectacled eiders just sitting there in this majestic swamp with these mountainous freaking snow in the background.
Come on. Look at that dude's green head. Look how big his eyeball appears.
I know.
Like if I was an eagle and I was flying over, I was like, I'm not trying to hunt anything with an eyeball.
I know.
that big.
I honestly, whoever painted this did a fantastic job. But I will say, I've never seen one of these in person. But that eyeball does look kind of big.
Do you know what one of the most
Look how
amazing things about eiders is?
What's that?
Their ability. I don't know if it's them, but there's a specific eider that, dude, who's the guy that talks about nature? He's the most iconic nature film guy ever. Not Jacques Cousteau.
Attenborough.
Attenborough.
Yeah, David Attenborough.
Dave Attenborough has got. I'm gonna find it, dude. He's got this clip, and he's like, "The black eider. It's the only duck species performed to go in these high currents, super high currents, that are twisted and crazy, and it has the ability to dive 20, 30 feet to get these mollusks or whatever it's going after, and that duck was made just to do that."
Man.
Which is just mind-blowing.
I think that is pretty crazy, honestly, and I think it's one of those things seeing that as the federal duck stamp. It is kind of weird because you're how many?
But it's a tribute to an incredible animal.
Yeah, no,
I mean, really.
Where I'm going with that is it's kind of weird because most hunters are not going to be able to harvest one in any given year. It's
Right.
probably a once in a lifetime bird for some people.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things when you look back on your duck stamp collection 20, 30, 40 years from now, you're like, oh, that was pretty
Bro,
cool.
you remember when I got the eider one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, while we all love the beautiful wood duck, 50 years from now, you might have some of my duck stamps and everything. Bro's
No,
gonna be
'cause I got all the same duck stamps.
but bro's gonna be like, oh yeah, wood duck, but eider.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's that green faced, wide eyed guy?
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
no doubt. So what else in the what the duck is going on? So obviously, you guys
Show season.
Yeah, you guys know that the shows are going down,
Bro, if you don't know
Now
that
you
the
know.
show is going down,
Mhm.
like you said, now you know. And dude, I feel like this is one of the pinnacle show seasons for two of the most incredible organizations on this planet. And that is Delta Waterfowl.
In terms of waterfowl.
Yeah, in terms of waterfowl. Delta Waterfowl Ducks Expo, DUX Expo. you guys have, if you've listened to us, you already know, and if you've been there to a Delta Waterfowl Expo, it's my goodness, we could talk forever about it. It's just incredible. Not just from what you see as far as from an exhibitor standpoint, but man, the people that you get to walk and talk and shake hands with. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, like, I just got back from that big show I was telling you about, and it's not the same thing, right? You got people walking by your booth, they're like, don't look at me, you know, and everybody walking by your booth is like, I want to look at you. You know what I mean? And they want to talk to you, and they want to shake hands with a fellow waterfowler and all that, man. And so we got Delta Expo going on in OKC, right? Oklahoma City?
Yeah. Yep.
And then we got the Ducks Convention, DUX, going on. They're bringing it home to Memphis. It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September, and it's 85 degrees, and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024? Which is a huge deal, dude. I mean, if you guys have not experienced the Ducks Unlimited headquarters tour, it's so easy. Just if you're there, I don't know what the hours are. I think it's Monday through Friday, but you can literally just request a tour and go in there. And it's some of the, like, if you're into history, oh my, like you really want to know, like, where did Ducks Unlimited come from? Man, I'll tell you, it still gives me a little hair raise on the back of the neck. You know, Tristan, we were able to walk through and see some of the nostalgic, incredible stuff that just has brought that organization to where it is today.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, if you got the extra time, definitely check out the DU headquarters, which I don't know, again, what their availability might be, especially in with the whole expo going on.
I know you can go online and schedule a tour, though.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely check that out if y'all get time, but super excited. Obviously, we're going to be at the Ducks Expo, and if you guys see us there, definitely stop by and say hi. We'd love to grab a picture and just, I think I'm going to bring my camera and probably do some content from the day, so definitely got to stop by and say hi if you see us, and we're really looking forward to it.
Tristan.
What?
We're working on something for the Ducks Expo that we will bring to you guys in a future podcast. I will tell you this, Tristan and I are more excited about what the possibilities of what we got going on for Ducks Expo than we've ever been. I will say that. And and we're big about not like, we don't ever want to like overpromise and underdeliver or speak about something that we're not, but we've got some huge opportunities that we're super excited about, and just stay tuned because if you're going to Ducks Expo, you're going to find out.
Yep, no doubt. So, the last thing with what the Duck is going on is obviously this whole public land deal was a huge thing going on, and honestly, like, I've not done
that
the research.
applies to everything. I mean, all hunting.
I've not done the research to like really spit the facts to you guys, but what it boils down to me is like, that whole thing, like Cameron Haynes was saying, was like not 1 acre because
yes,
not
1 acre.
They were trying to.
It's only 1%.
Yeah, and 1% like literally took up like Connecticut, Rhode Island, and like something else. It was like in Delaware. It was like a huge portion of the Northeast, and like the precedent cannot be set because, to Cam's point, if 1 acre gets sold, then it opens the can of worms is open, and it'll never be put back.
Oh, it will turn into. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody that listens to this that's in favor of the opiate thing? No, you're not. It will turn into such a bipartisan, like a underground funding situation with all of that, with say commercial developers, for example. Do you know why they want to sell it? To make money. That's why they want to sell it. And so you can have all these developers getting into these clicks and I think it's a real, like, if you've seen Yellowstone.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah,
about,
if you've seen Yellowstone, that's the reality of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an airport. It's a total loss of land that can be used however the hell they see fit.
Yeah, which I don't know exactly what they were trying to do with it or the like really in-depth deal.
No, give us your
with this.
feedback.
But just my thoughts looking at it is just like, yeah, you cannot set the precedent because once you open that can of worms, it's just gonna there's no stopping it at that point. You know, it's 1% here, 1% here, and then it's death by 1,000 cuts is what's gonna happen. So thankfully that the hunters got a win there and everybody kind of united, and it's cool to still see that, like, while we're the minority in the United States, hunters, that we can still make such an impact. And I know that one thing I saw that I forgot who shared it, but I went on there and wrote my Warnock and somebody else. It was like a Raphael Warnock, I think is like the dude in Georgia or whatever, but it was like an email that was already templated out for you.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And then you already plug your stuff in there and boom.
And Delta and Ducks Unlimited help you do that stuff, man. I mean,
BHA, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. That's what it is. Yeah, they were big in that too. So yeah, shout out to everybody who played a big part in that, and that's what the duck's going on.
Nope. I've got something else. And that's because for those of you that are super addicted to ducks, you want to know what the duck is going on with those ducks all year long, right? Here's the breakdown. I'm just going to give it to you because I'm so obsessed. I really do know what's going on. I can speak factual about this. Number one, researchers are thinking that, again, we don't have enough water. So they're not sure about what the nesting is looking like. But, the mating is finished, obviously. The brooding's starting to happen. The males are starting to depart. Now that the babies have been born, the males are starting to find isolated places because they're losing their wing feathers. And if you didn't know this, waterfowl are one of the I don't want to say the only bird, but I think it is the only bird that sheds their wing feathers. So it's incredible to me how God works, that a greenhead mallard stands out like a sore thumb, right? But when it loses its wings, it molts into a shed that looks similar to a hen. Why does a hen have the shed that it does? So that it can sit there hidden in camouflage for 28 days, bro. They don't get up for 28 days.
Wow.
Now, somebody's going to call me wrong and say, yeah, they get up and take a poop or something like that. Yeah, they might, all right, or eat something. But the whole purpose is that they're camouflaged to stay hidden from predators.
And they got to keep those eggs at
yeah,
certain temperature
but
and
here
all that,
the drakes are, and Cone Wildlife just had a post about this. They tracked this drake all the way, and they said he's most likely went to this isolated pond to shed his wing feathers. And it's a very vulnerable situation. But isn't it funny how God takes care of that molt?
Yeah.
And you guys, if you've not seen what a mallard looks like molted, it'll blow your mind. You'll be like, that's farm duck.
Yeah.
It really is. So I think it's cool to follow that journey of what's going on with those. And it's mixed reviews on what people think about what the predictions are and all that stuff. But we'll see what's going to happen, right? I mean, as far as what the production numbers are going to come out of that, and I know we have scientists and biologists all over the place that are tracking that stuff, and they want to know probably more than we do.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it kind of boils down to the people that are that we trust to put in these positions to make these regulations, and it's just kind of like
follow these numbers.
It's one of those things. It's always cool to see when you see an uptick, and it's always like a bummer to see when you see a downtick. But year over year, honestly, it's hard to say if I see any difference, to be honest with you. But obviously as a hunter, I would like to see an uptick every single year.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll happen more times than not.
Well, we have a friend of ours that sees any uptick in anything, then he just basically says that he's not making any money this year.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, he's like, the duck numbers are bad. He goes, it's going to be a banger. And it's just because one year, several years back, they did put out some numbers that weren't great. But doesn't that vary so slightly?
It
I mean,
does.
dude,
There's so
it could
many
vary by
factors.
a 100-yard field.
Yep. no
I
doubt.
mean, wow. So anyway, that's what ducks going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the other thing that, it's July 1st, starting to see bucks and velvet. We wanted to touch on, as a deer hunter,
What are you doing?
yeah, it's like, so for us, September 10th, September 15th, something like that is when deer season comes in. A lot of states is like October 1st, October 15th. But as a deer hunter at this point, it's like, your wheels are starting to turn, because for us, we got like 75 days,
Dude,
which is crazy to
hardly
think
that.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's right around the corner, truly. So it's like now it's kind of starting to get real. Like it's
Yeah.
almost hunting season again. So
What are you doing?
yeah,
Let's just talk about this for a minute, Tristan. Like, number one, if you're listening to this and you're not doing anything, shame on you. I mean, if you've got big goals, right? If you've got big goals, I think that you start earlier, you get more serious about it, you do your scouting more serious, all those things. But, I just think most of us are public land hunters when it comes to deer hunting, right? I mean, there's a large majority of people that are out there. I saw a post the other day from somebody that said, have you ever shot a mature buck on public land? And I was shocked how many people said no. I mean, it's one of those. Maybe I'm not surprised.
What
type of questions.
are we calling a mature buck? Are we calling? Is that 4 years? Is that what we're calling?
It wasn't that detailed.
Yeah.
It was just like what I felt like with the post was like, if you were able, like, what people, if they felt like they shot a big one or a mature buck, they posted a picture of it and said yes.
Yeah.
And most people agreed with that. But I think mature.
What is scientifically considered mature? 4.5? Is that what we're calling mature?
4.5 to 7.5.
I know 6.5 is like the quote unquote
4.5 to 7.5.
prime, but
I mean, it's I would say no less than a 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I guarantee that I got a lot of people that'd be like no less than a 6.5.
well, I understand when I say that. I understand that like the goal is 6.5, but like
I think research has proven 5.5 to 7.5 is the key.
yeah, like you can have. So, like, there's so much variance, right? Like, you can have a 5.5-year-old deer.
You have a drought one year.
You can have a 4.5-year-old deer. You can have a 3.5-year-old deer. That's maybe not this extreme, but you could have like one of those freak genetic deers that's like 150 at 3.5, 170 at 4.5, 200 at 5.5, 210 at 6.5.
Gets eaten by a coyote at 170.
Just like, and I'm just saying, like, for an average hunter, like, I might see a 3.5-year-old deer that's 140, 150 inch deer, like
Yeah.
a freak. And that's like the best deer in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like to me, that might be a mature deer, but to other people, that's just like, oh, whatever.
Well, here's the point I want to get in you guys' brains is that, you're out there hunting deer on public land. You most absolutely should be out there scouting right now. And you might be going, well, what's that going to do for me? Deer presence. That's the first thing I'm going to say is pay. If you don't know what still hunting is, still hunt whatever area you're at while you're scouting. Go out there in the summer, find those trails. They're going to start getting grown over by ivy and things like that because the deer, they don't need to use those trails as much right now because they can just go where they want and eat what they want, right? But you can still see what happened from last year, right? Go to those areas, walk 10 yards and stop. Sit there for 20 to 30 minutes. Pay attention to what's around you. Listen to the birds. Listen to the blue jays. Watch the crows. Get embossed in that area to really understand what's going on there. Because early season, that is going to be giant. Because once those behavior patterns get going, the bucks, once they get their antlers in and the foods start getting planted, so let's say there's beans in the area and whatever food source is going to dictate that, acorns, in September, whatever it is, you need to have a general idea of what kind of deer population I'm dealing with. And so it can be very, very useful to you to go out and walk deer trails, walk creeks. Creeks are one of my favorite because when you walk, there's going to be perpendicular movement. You walk a creek, if you can walk in it, look for the trails, see where deer are crossing. I just think it's a good idea to get a good idea of like what kind of movement, if they feel comfortable now there, they're going to feel comfortable there. You know, of course, that could change with a bunch of hunters moving in, that kind of thing. But, you know, if you're a public land hunter, I'm just saying, especially if you're trying to hunt a big buck, you've got to start doing your work now. Your trail cameras need to be out there. You need to start doing your research and work now.
Now, just a couple questions that come to my mind that I see a lot of people ask, and also I'm just kind of curious about, like, you know, people always talk about like topography being such a big thing and like pinch points. But
Yep.
like I remember one of my friends last year asking me what, like, how I could define a pinch point to him, like on a property that I haven't been to.
Yeah.
And I was like, I found myself kind of struggling. I mean, I did, but it was kind of hard, like, for me to define like a pinch point, because it's kind of like how I define a pinch point is like
A travel corridor.
a travel corridor where it's like they come up to a river, or they come up to like where they have to round this thing or whatever.
There's
where
a high bluff.
There's
Yeah.
a big block of woods, and they have to go through the skinny block of woods
Yep.
to get to the next big block. Like, those are pinch points to me. So like I had a hard time trying to explain that, but I think like that's one of those things that some people that might be listening to this are like, what is a pinch point?
Yeah. Well, no, and that
And
makes
what role does that play into killing big bucks? Because I
Yeah.
know it's
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. So early season, look, those bucks are not going to be going down your most beaten trails. They're not. They're just not. And if they do, it's going to be after when you're you're asleep in bed. But those pinch points become super popular during the rut, because you're just trying to play the numbers, right? And deer love the easiest path of least resistance, and they're going to travel it, man. I mean, like 3 of these bucks that I have on the wall here, Tristan, all of those, you know what my big kick is shelf hunting. I'm a huge fan of shelf hunting. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, what we're talking about is the side of a ridge. We're talking about a side of a ridge that's got a shelf. You've been there in your own woods, and you see this logging road. And you're like, dude, that's like, who cut that out of the world? You know what I mean? It's just this shelf. Dude, bucks love that stuff. But point being is that you just got to be able to get out there and start identifying the area you're in. Look, if you've had minimal results because you just taken your climber out and threw it up in a tall pine on opening day, you probably didn't have very good results. The people that are getting in there and harvesting those deer that maybe you have a passion to go after, maybe it's just a deer, a period. Honestly, I have no problem with that, dude. I've had button bucks that have like got me more shook up than big buck. But if you're going out to do that, you got to put yourself in the position to be the most successful possible, and that you have to get in tune with that nature in that specific area. That's my whole point.
Yeah. What do you think it is that, like, why those bucks love like a shelf like that? I mean, because I would think, like, obviously when they're running,
I've got 2 reasons right now.
I'm just like thinking in my brain, just like, and I'm curious to hear what you say, but obviously you hear that they like those thermals. They want to smell everything in that valley, and that kind of they're being more efficient about their traveling.
Yep.
But I would think topography wise, if they could find a shelf, it's probably easier to walk than a freaking, a valley that's at a freaking whatever angle. You know what I mean?
Here's the
side of a
easiest
ridge.
way I'd like to put it. You're a deer that has pretty much all your life since you were a spike. You've ran your... Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order. Your ass off, right? You're running and you're bar hopping and you're hitting every bar that you can on the strip, right? Mm-hmm. Then you start, after time, you start to realize that maybe I don't have to go to every bar on the strip. Right? Maybe I just got to watch the girls and see which bar they go to.
Yeah.
And then try to sabotage them at that bar. All right. Or, but that's really what a big buck does. I have yet to this day seen a giant deer. When I'm saying giant, I'm saying world-class deer. I've never seen a world-class deer be the lead chase ever in my life. And if somebody wants to correct me, then okay, there might be that anomaly. But that's not the case. Dude, they get smart and they let the little bucks chase them and all that stuff. And they're going to take the easiest path of least resistance, just like your grandfather would. I mean, they will. It's just that simple, dude.
Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, they're like, I've ran this property all of my life. You might think that deer's just walking down a valley. Hell no. Dude, they know every tree, every shadow, where the shadow's at during that time of day. I mean, this is like if somebody moves something on your bedside table, you would notice it. These deer are there day in, day out, all the time. So, but what happens with that shelf hunting is that it becomes the easiest path of least resistance. So an animal's traveling from point A to point B. Don't you think that they were like, let's use a logging road, for example. Do you think they took the toughest path?
No.
To make no,
Yeah.
they didn't. That's why logging road shelves are so like, okay, that makes sense that a deer's walking down that.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you look at that's kind of what my whole thought was, is just that the fact that they are taking the path of least resistance, and obviously when you're trying to walk on a crazy incline on a hill versus not, it's a little bit easier to take a leveled off road. So, but yeah, no, we just wanted to touch on some deer hunting stuff, guys. It's kind of that time of year where everyone's starting to think about it, and at this point, hopefully you got some cameras up and you're getting some plans together, because it'll be here before you know it, man. But the next thing we got going on is
Hold on.
what?
I had one more thing to say about that.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to run to the restroom real quick. Here's the other advantage you get with shelf hunting, all right? I've gotten super lucky sometimes in some valleys, but I've gotten busted so many times in the valley, right?
I know. I'm almost like I don't even want to hunt valleys.
I know
anymore.
they have to be big. They
Yeah.
have to be big and wide, and you have to get down there. And unfortunately, I still smoke, but it's the only advantage it gives me to deer hunting is that I can watch the smoke, right? And I'll go like get in a tree and blow a big puff of smoke and see where it goes. And sometimes, honestly, I've climbed up a tree and blew the smoke and went, nope, just like that place last year in Georgia. Remember, Tristan? Beautiful spot. But for some reason, the way that air moved through there, every time we got busted, dude. I mean, I was like, no way.
There was no figuring it out. It
No.
was just,
No, but here's what shelf hunting does for you. Let's keep it simple. You got a ridge. Let's say the ridge is a 50-foot climb from creek to the top of the ridge. I think that's pretty standard for a basis. And you got this logging road that's halfway up it. When you set that logging road, that shelf, now you're going up the tree. Now you're getting your scent up above. And that's the ideal situation. Dude, if you can find that spot where there's a shelf and you get up in the tree, and I still am not a believer in getting above like 15, 16 feet. I think that you take away too many shot angles. You're going to wound a deer. I don't like it. But if you can get up 15, 16 feet, and now you on one side are above the top of the ridge, that's all you got to be, dude, because everything, the thermals, and especially in the morning, they're going to come up and they're going to blow off the top of that ridge. And if you're up there, you've got such a tremendous advantage. I'm not a genius. Play the wind, right? I mean, you cannot beat a deer's nose. And I just think that that's one of the things that has been one of the things that took me years and years to figure out. And it's definitely a trend that I figured out that most of the deer I have on my wall are related to that. So
good elite ball knowledge right there is what the kids say. So there's this trend going around TikTok that's like drop elite ball knowledge, but it'll be like, so what that's in reference to is like football or like baseball or basketball, and it's like somebody that drops like some legit strategy that you're like, damn, dude, like that was like some good,
that's some good stuff, right?
Yeah, so that was some elite ball knowledge of shooting big bucks.
Yeah, that's right. Take that, folks.
But man, the one thing we wanted to hit on is the last of the two new segments we got. It's called Listener Question of the Week, which we did a little like kind of demo of this, like probably, I don't know, a month and a half ago.
Yep.
And we're bringing it back full speed for a long time. It's going to be a more permanent stay in this podcast. So
we're even looking to upgrade that.
Yeah.
With potential, you can actually call in and leave us a voicemail, and we'll play your voice on the podcast.
Yeah, no, that's no doubt going to be a part of this at some point. I'm just figuring out, like, I looked up today, like, how to do it, and there's, like, 10 different...
We'll figure it out.
We're going to figure it out, and,
we want your voice heard.
Yeah, you'll be able to call in. We'll be able to listen back to it. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard Theo Vaughn's podcast. He does it all the time on his solo podcast, where he'll let somebody call in, and you get to play it back.
And the cool thing is, you're going to get something for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. And when we, that's a new thing we're starting to with this podcast is... which right now it might be koozies, it might be a hat in the future, whatever it is. If we choose your question, we're gonna send you I guess a prize or whatever you want to call it. But today we got these new leather and like embossed badass like One Hell of a Life outdoor podcast.
Dude, it's like a branding.
They're really nice, honestly. And
Good job.
And
on that,
they don't fit standard beer cans bad. Like, you know how sometimes leather, I got a glass bottle in here, it's like not great, but you know how sometimes leather koozies like on a typical can won't fit great?
Yeah.
They fit really good on a can.
Well, I don't have any remorse for, I mean, yeah, I used to be a Chick Ultra guy, but if you get our koozie and your Chick Ultra doesn't fit, then I just deal with it.
So we got that's funny. So honestly, like it is really cool to see how many comments we got today on this. We got 7 comments.
Nice.
Guys from Texas, from Michigan to Florida to Virginia. Wow. Really cool. So I just want to say shout out to let's see here. What's this fella's name? Let me go to his page real quick, because it's one of them that his page is different than his name or whatever. Shit. I think his name's Eli. So Eli, Brian, Devin from Texas. Brian, I think, is from Michigan.
Yep.
Zachary, not sure where you're from. Winter Productions. Riley, I know you're from Michigan. And then the Hunting Traveler. I want to say he's from like Virginia, isn't he?
Yeah,
we had him on
so.
the podcast.
Yeah,
He's the Boykin Spaniel fella. But thank you guys all for leaving a question. So we got 7 questions, and we went through them all. And honestly, what it boils down to...
We're trying to pick one that, you know, that you'd be mad at us for not picking yours. No,
no doubt. No doubt.
I'm kidding. We'd love to read them all off to you, but
yeah,
pick one, Tristan.
It's hard. You got to pick one, and I think what we're going to go with is Devin Smith, and his question is, which I'm sorry because he was a recent podcast guest. It's not biased, guys.
No.
It's just he had a
good job for you asking a great question.
He had a great question. So he said, do you think the flyways should have longer splits or push seasons back for migration? And the reason we're picking this is because we've been fortunate enough to have some really smart people, way smarter than
that's
us.
Why. I mean, that's truly why we're picking this question. Tristan and I are big about facts. We don't like to overpromise and underdeliver, and we feel like we can speak on this a little bit more factually versus our feelings.
Mm-hmm. We've had the Brad Cohens on the world on this podcast to drop some serious knowledge, and so. Do you think the flyaway should have longer splits or push the seasons back for migration? So
first,
unpacking that.
Let me just give a broad overview of that and respecting everybody's flyway. Mm-hmm. We have 4 major flyways, right? Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, that should always be based on data research. Mm-hmm. That should be, here's the thing, Tristan and I talked about this question before we started. The most important thing, whether you want to admit it or not, to every single one of us, is brood production. That is the most important thing. So what we said was right out of the box is that the first thing we support is take it as late as you can, bro.
Yeah.
As long as it does not affect that. That's our biggest concern. I would rather shoot way less ducks to ensure that we have something for the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. It's like if... data suggests that we could hunt them into February and it's not going to screw up that mating process and the brood production and all that good stuff, then we're all for it. You know, I think it's just one of those things that the people who decide these things got to take a look at. And and
Well, and-
decide on.
Well, and what people don't realize is it's not like, okay, so do we monitor that based on the date of conception? No, there's a song and dance party that goes on, and we all know it as duck hunters right now. If you duck hunted enough, is and if you don't know this, is good knowledge for you. Is that duck season starts off with a lot of big flocks, and as the duck season gets later, you start to see pairings, and that's all part of production.
Yep.
There's that I call it a pissing contest between the drakes, to get their hen, and that's got to happen, and so we can't interrupt that. And Tris and I were just talking, just like to be so specific with that question would be difficult per flyway,
Yeah.
but it would have to be based on factual, scientific, biologic research.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, a lot of people get this misconception, specifically in the Mississippi Flyway, but also, I guess where I'm going with this is I can only really speak on the two flyways I've hunted, which is the Mississippi Flyway and the Atlantic Flyway. And going with the Mississippi Flyway first, a lot of people get this like misconception when it's like, oh man, first week after season, these fields just fill up, and man, you just I wish we could hunt them. But you guys got to realize
It's not the way it was back
there's-
then.
there's a couple key things that happen here. So one, nobody's hunting, so those fields that the ducks want to be in, they're gonna go to because nobody's hunting them. B, people start draining their fields after duck season. So what happens is you get into February, March. These are rice fields, so they're wanting to get the water off of them, and at some point they're getting to the point where they're going to want to plant rice. So whatever,
Burn 'em or whatever.
yeah, whatever they got to do. So at some point, unless this is a like a managed duck reserve, like your freaking Coca-Cola Woods or whatever of the world's Stan Mallard's Duck Lodge, those kind of places, they might keep water later to try to imprint and those kind of things. But if you're not one of those places, you're just a farmer trying to get water off your field and duck season's out. So what happens is as that starts to happen, the ducks that are in the area concentrate to where water's at and where the resources are at. So that's why, people drive by these fields, they're like, holy shit, there's 10,000 ducks in this field,
Right.
And it's just, they got here late. No, they were there, bro, but they just concentrated. Or they're, they might not have been, it could be, they're coming from the south and they're getting there, whatever. But for the most part, and the reason we can speak confidently on this is because Brad Cohen, their group's done a lot of research on this kind of thing. And that's what they found. They got these, I think they said they had 300 GPS collared ducks last year. So it's like
GPS trackers, yeah.
which obviously there's millions of ducks, but 300
That's a good sample.
good sample
A good
to
sample.
give you just an idea of what these ducks are doing. So I guess to wrap this whole thing up, on my perspective, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but from my perspective, to wrap this thing up, is we got to go by data, like you said, and sometimes perception is not reality.
Yep. No, I think that's a great way to wrap it up, Tristan. I really don't have anything more to add to that. Outside of that, on the horizon,
Wait. One more thing I forgot to add. I wanted to touch on the Atlantic Flyway real quick.
Okay.
The Atlantic Flyway, at least in Florida, for example, you're not getting as much as these people draining water off their fields. I think probably
You're speaking to Mississippi Central Flyway. People.
yeah, and I think
And actually, and even in the Pacific, but
yeah, those other flyways is probably more
because
similar.
there's so much private land, dude.
Yeah.
90, I think Delta said, was it 94% of all, and I saw this going on during the Farm Bill, 94% of waterfowl habitat is private land.
Yeah, it's something crazy.
Take
like
that and wrap it around your brain.
Yeah, but just speaking to Florida and specifically because we know we have several listeners from there.
Yeah.
I think what happens there is just the pressure thing. I think that's the biggest thing is you just pressure off areas.
There's a
and-
ton of water, dude. I mean, come on.
Right.
We know, I thought it was impossible for a pintail to be in coastal water.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I've talked to people in Florida that rock them on coastal water, and that just, it still to this day doesn't make any sense. I haven't done it, so it doesn't make any sense to me because
Yeah.
the only time I've rocked them is in a rice field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you hear about them in timber or whatever. But to say that All
I
right.
don't know about pintails. It's rare.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that it's not that kind of environment. And there's folks that we know in Florida that rock them,
Yeah, no doubt.
so.
Yeah, no doubt. But so that's that was a great question, Devin, and we're gonna be sending you out a koozie at my earliest convenience, probably here the next day or two. But 4th of July is coming up, so I'm gonna try to get out before then. But
Well, did you let them know that you're going to charge them more for shipping than what the koozie costs? No, I'm just kidding, Devin.
no, I'm not charging anything.
No, I
but,
know you're not.
You know, it's funny because the koozie is $5, so shipping probably will be more.
I know it will be. No, but gratefully.
Yeah, no doubt. We honestly love, and we're tickled to get 7 questions tonight.
Oh,
I mean,
man, that's great.
Great interaction, guys, and we'll always shout you guys out. And when we get the phone thing set up, we get to hear your voice, and it'll be even more personal. So we really,
That's right. Don't get
really appreciate
butthurt.
that.
Don't get butthurt if we didn't list your question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm challenging you to give us a better question. And it doesn't mean your question wasn't great.
Yeah, there was great questions.
Because I will tell you this at a bare minimum, Tristan and I talked out every one of these questions, and they were a part of like our night tonight, and just like, man, some of you guys' questions make us smarter, honestly, and makes us think about things, And
Well, I think what it
super
comes
cool.
down to is like what we want to give you guys the best product we can if you're listening to our
Mm-hmm.
podcast. So whatever we feel the most confident we can talk on, and it's like providing true educational value to you guys, we're going to try to do. So
That's right. But thank you, every one of you.
yeah, thank you guys, and we're looking forward to more questions and connecting with y'all. Hopefully at the Ducks Expo, we're going to talk more about that. We still got
Stay tuned.
a month until then. So thank you guys, and that's all I got. It's one hell of a life.
It's one hell of a lot.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.